right, so you know that we're using clay, so what is the project? What are we doing? Each student will be creating a tile that emphasizes a particular line. Now, all of these lines will line up with the other students. So your piece can be installed into a space and be some community art. It'll be really awesome. Now, because it's community art, we have a couple rules. No logos, no words, and no characters whatsoever. Nothing that would be copyright material. So if we can't use those, what can we focus on? Well, we're going to focus on emphasis, texture, line, and form. So emphasis, the thing you focus on, texture, the physical texture you see, lines, you know what that is, and form, the three-dimensional aspect of it. Each student got a piece of paper, this little poster board square. It either looks like this or that. Now let's take a look at your square, your section, your tile. I don't know if this is yours, but it should be something like this. It is a 3x3 piece of poster board with one of those designs on them. So let's draw your design. You're going to take your little square and use a pencil and draw out a design. Go with what you feel. Go with, maybe some contrasting, like maybe curves, straight lines, adding in shapes, whatever you feel this piece needs to be. Now, when you're creating your tile, so I'm going to draw my tile over here on the side, there are going to be things that are above the tile and things that are going to be carved below. So you see here, what is above, that's your positive, that's adding on. What is below is the negative that you are taking away. So you want a combination of positive, negative, and that neutral plane. Make sure that you are emphasizing that line that you were given. So you are using that in some way. So decide here what you want to be positive, what you want to be negative, how you want this piece to be laid out. And a quick reminder, no logos, no characters, and no words. All right, now it's finally tile making time. So go ahead and take your clay out of your bag. You want to kind of make it into a thicker square at this point. And you're going to see I'm using my palm to kind of flatten it a little bit. Now this is sped up. I am also flipping it over repeatedly in different directions. This is going to slowly thin out the tile and create a nicer flat surface that you can work with. This is going to take a while. It's okay if you mess up, just try again. Notice the thickness of my tile, about how much I'm working with it. I'm going to go ahead and put on a piece of paper and put my template on top. I'm going to use something to cut this away. It can be plastic utensils, it can be just utensils that you normally eat with. This is not going to harm anything. It is not toxic whatsoever. They just need to be washed off, maybe in the dishwasher or hand washed afterwards. It'll be totally fine. I'm trying to keep this totally straight up and down so I have nice edges to my tile. Now I have a trick for you that might save you a lot of time. If you have washable markers, like Crayola markers, like little kid markers, just basic markers, trace out your design on here. If you have this, if you don't, that's okay. You can still complete the project without it. But if you have those, trace on top and make sure to get all the details, even if you drew something with a pen. Now, what you're going to do is press this on top. You see, I already did it once before, but press it on top, and the clay should be slightly damp. Don't spray it. And you're gonna rub the top of the paper, and when you peel it away, you're gonna be able to see your design. It transfers it, it makes a mirror image of it. So the first thing I wanna do is do some of my additive measures. And I really want to make sure that that line, that the blue line that I was given on my tile, that I emphasize that and that I make it really prominent and that it is the most important thing on that tile. So I'm going to roll a coil just like a snake, like you would do like when you were a little kid with Play-Doh. And I'm gonna try to smooth it out, and I'm making this bigger than I need. I am going to also do something on here that is called score and slip. So I'm going to scratch up the surface of both sides where I'm attaching. So I'm scratching out that blue line. I decided to go with a fork because it was a little easier than trying to use the serrated part of the knife. Scratch up the piece I have, add a little bit of water, and pressing that on. Now I can cut off the extra that I don't need. Now this looks nice and all, but it's not fully attached. So what I'm going to do is take the sides and make sure that's fully attached by kind of pressing a little bit of the clay, trying not to be too noticeable with it. You can kind of see here what I'm doing. You don't want it once it dries to just completely pop off. You want to incorporate it so it is one piece. The scoring and a little bit of the water kind of acts like a Velcro between the pieces of clay. Now you can only attach clay that's the same dryness level. So you see how these are the same color? I can attach them together. And I'm using a paintbrush and actually smoothing some of those areas out. And while I'm at it, I decided to change my design a little bit and use the back of a paintbrush to add some texture. And smoothing that out with the other end, the bristle end of the paintbrush. So your first day, you're going to focus on additives. So any additive measures, so you're adding things to it, all the positive things that are getting added on the top. Now, I'm going to keep comparing, kind of see, okay, I want those little lines from the center, I want them to be prominent. I realized my clay was cracking. I used a tiny bit of water. And I'm going to lay out everything I need for that. So I'm not actually attaching them just yet. I'm just comparing back and forth. And I'm going to do my next few. There you go. Boom. TV magic. Do the same thing. Scoring, adding a tiny little bit of water, attaching it on, and then fixing up those edges in a little bit. While still in the additive positive phase of this, I am going to manipulate the clay a little bit to what I want it to be. So I added a couple texture items for the circles and these circles. Now you're probably going to be wrapping up your clay for the next day, and always bag your work between days. You have to do that, otherwise it dries up and it's really terrible. Instead of looking like this, it'll look like that. So now the next day we're going to be focusing on taking away some. So you see how I'm carving some away and it has a different look to it. It's kind of more crumbly, but I can get more details. It's not as this mushiness. This is going to be leather hard clay. So I'm actually using the side of a fork to carve things away. Whatever tools that you have available to you, be creative. Like, look at things in a different way. Maybe there's a lid to a cup that would work really well to carve something. Or, what can you make as a carving tool? Do you have access to a paper clip? That might work well. So going through and taking away, fixing up the sides, taking your time will make this piece look wonderful. So now I'm pretty much finished with this. I'm going to refine those edges, make them look really nice, and smooth those with my finger. Just run my finger across it. Use a dull pencil to write your name on the bottom of this. And I ended up taking all of the scraps, putting them back in the baggie because this clay can be recycled. Don't throw it away. Then taking this tile, so there's my drawing and there's my tile. I'm kind of smoothing, refining any edges with my brush, kind of those last finishing items. And then I'm going to actually take the tile, so you see how three-dimensional it is. I'm going to take this tile and put it on top of my template. I'm going to take this, and then this is what gets dropped off at school. not in a baggie, just left out to dry and get added on with other tiles. Now, your tile will come into the school, go into the kiln room here, and sit there to dry out for like a week and a half. We're gonna make sure it's dry. Once it's dry, which this one's not, is going to go into the kiln and be fired at 2,000 degrees. I can't wait to see what you guys create, and just don't forget to add the positive additive things, the subtractive negative things, and also to add some really cool textures and emphasize that line. You guys got this. I cannot wait to see all these pieces, and I think it's going to be great to see them all installed together.